Here's a first look at two new expressions from 1792 that are hitting the store shelves now. Earlier this week, I was able to pick up the Cognac Cask Finish from their limited series. He had also had only 6 bottles of the Zinfandel Finish from their extended Cask Finish series. However, they were all sold out by the time I got there. So when I had the Facebook alert earlier today, I zipped on out there as quick as I could, and sure enough, he had some more, and I was able to snag one. So thank you, Thomas, from Corona Cigar in Tampa, and I have no affiliation with him or with Corona Cigar. I've just, over the past couple of years, been able to get pretty decent bottles there and a few cigars. Honestly, 1792's website sucks in the sense that they're selling these bottles and there's no information. They're not even mentioned on their website. In fact, the bottles that they do sell, that there is information on the website, it's really not a whole lot. Not much more than what is on the individual bottles. I couldn't even find a press release for this new series or for the Cognac Cask Finish. So basically, we're just going to read the bottle and then drink some. I have had a couple pours of the Cognac Cask Finish one, and these have both been sitting in the glasses here for at least half an hour. I have not had any of these Zinfandel Finish. All right, cheers. Let's look at the bottle. Cognac Cask Finish. It's bottled at 95 proof. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished in cognac barrels. Looking at the back of the barrel, of the bottle. Our Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey was emptied from the finest charred American white oak cask after many years of aging. Once refilled in carefully selected cognac casks, it was left to mature in top parts of the rickhouse to encourage interaction between the bourbon whiskey and secondary cask. That's really all the information we have about this whiskey. There's no real information. I paid $39.99 for this bottle, and that's all we know. It's from the limited series, 95 proof, mash bill undisclosed, age undisclosed, finishing time undisclosed. Just here it is, a cognac. Now it was finished. They put it at the top of the rickhouse, which we know up in the top of the rickhouse it has higher humidity and temperature changes, so that does encourage the interaction of the whiskey and the barrel as it goes in and out more as the weather changes. So that's great. If you're familiar with the Thomas Moore finished whiskeys, that's kind of what we're talking about right here. And those were finished in the bottom part of the rickhouses. And we know there's less temperature and less humidity changes, so there's less interaction in those bottles, the Thomas Moore ones, when they were finishing between the whiskey and the barrel. So it says top of the rickhouse, at least for this one. And I had a quick sip just before I started talking about it. It just helps me. I've had a couple small pours of this one, and I do find some fruits in there, some stone fruits. But overall, from the couple small pours I've had of this, I think the finish is pretty subtle. Like those fruits are present, but that 1792 bourbon still is able to shine. I'm a fan of 1792. I like their small batch. I like their limited series. I mean, that sweet wheat, the 12-year, the foolproof, bottle and bond, single barrel. Certainly. I am a fan of it. I find 1792 to be kind of spicy and exciting, kind of more beyond a typical Kentucky straight bourbon. And I think really what I've noticed through the few pours I've had is that, like I said, the finish is kind of subtle. What it really does is it enhances those fruit notes of the 1792 and adds on top of them. I'm a big fan of figs. I love to eat figs. I love to eat raisins. And I think it just kind of enhances those notes in here from the cognac, those stone fruit notes, those caramel and vanillas. And it tamps down the spiciness a little bit. Kind of rounds off the edge of the typical 1792 pour that I'm used to. So, overall, I find it to be Be really good. Okay, the Zinfandel Finish. And when I was picking this bottle up, he kept, and even the other day, he kept referring it to the Red Zin. And there is no, again, nothing on the website, no press releases that I can find, and there's no mention of Red Zinfandel on the bottle. It just says Zinfandel. And there also is a white Zinfandel. So which kind of cask is it from exactly? I don't know. But let's look at the bottle, see what it says, and then we're going to have our first taste of this, first look. So extended cask finish, and we know there's going to be some other expressions in the extended cask finish series. Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey finished in Zinfandel cask. Bottled at 101 proof. That's nice. That's a nice proof level. I think it's going to give it a little extra zing here. It's the extended cask finish series where our Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey is elevated through an unrivaled dual aging process. Each expression in the extended cask finish collection is meticulously finished for an additional 2 years in exceptional hand-selected cask from around the world, allowing unparalleled depth of flavor to develop. Elegant and complex, the Zinfandel cask finish. Okay. So we all know that all these whiskey brands that we enjoy, they're owned by parent companies that own, wine and rum and tequila, these producers from these other kinds of spirits. And of course, they're using all the barrels back and forth. They're like, how can we use these Zinfandel barrels, these Cognac barrels, these rum, Merlot, Pinot barrels, port barrels? How can we use these to our advantage? And one of the ways is by finishing whiskeys. And that's what they're doing here in this series. So, I mean, exceptional Zinfandel cask. Okay, cool. We don't drink a lot of Zinfandel wine. Mrs. Captain's moved on to things like Cabs and Sauvignons and things like that, some Pinots. When she first started drinking wine, and she drinks a lot more wine than I do, that Zinfandel was one of the first wines, and Moscatos was things that but she's gravitated kind of away from those. It's not very often we have those in our house. But I paid $49.99 for this bottle, and I'm pretty excited about it. So, cheers. So I'm assuming these are both, the base whiskey is just a 1792 small batch. This, of course, is a higher proof, 95 proof. But I assume that's the original base whiskey. It's a little more aggressive on the nose than the Cognac cask finish, probably just due to the higher proof. And it has a little, it's not a fruity, but it's more of a berry note to it. Some red fruits instead of those stone fruit notes. Like there's none of that fig and the raisins, more like berry and cherries. Still has that vanilla and the caramel. It's still very clearly 1792 bourbon. Again, cheers again. Definitely some cinnamon coming through. Those red fruits coming through. Those cherry notes, caramel, some cinnamon. It's distinct from this one here, certainly. I feel like the finish is more subtle. It's not the bourbon is the star. Here we still have those bourbon notes, but that Zinfandel is, it's a 2-year finish. If you do a lot of finished whiskeys, if you look at that stuff, you see how long it's finished. 2 years it's an extended cask finish. Typically between 7 months and a year, would be even a long finish. So 2 years certainly, I think, is a long time. And the Cognac here doesn't tell us how long it's finished. And this does say it's finished in the top part of the rickhouse. This tells us how long it's finished, but not where in the rickhouse it is. So is this one also in the top of the rickhouse? Don't know. Doesn't say. But definitely that Zinfandel is more aggressive. it's more present than the Cognac here. Probably it's a longer finish, I would imagine. That Zinfandel is very present with those berries and cherries notes, some cinnamon, caramel and vanillas. It's kind of all there. If you don't really like finished whiskeys, you can just have this. You might not even notice that it's finished. Like, you might not notice. You might just think it's a little brighter than normal, more like the single barrel. This one you're definitely going to know is a finished whiskey, as those other notes are more present. And I don't think it's heavy-handed, though. It's still pretty nice. I mean, we've all had these overly finished whiskeys or finished in the wrong stuff. Like, it doesn't mesh very well together. I'm looking at you, Bull Run. But I think this was a nice one. I think for $49. I think for $39, certainly. You see this, if you like 1792, pick it up if you see it sit on the shelf. $49.99. I still think is a solid buy. I'm a fan of finished whiskeys, and I think this it works pretty well together. I think a lot of these wine finished bourbons, I think it's pretty well done. You know, those fruits play well together with the vanilla and the oak and the spice. It all meshes pretty well. So for $49.99, I mean, certainly. I mean, I have quite a few finished whiskeys. I pay, $175, $150, $165 for those. Think of the Blood Oath, the Noble Share, the Prisoner Share, all these extremely priced whiskeys. And so $49.99, it's a solid buy. To me, these are both a buy. And I know in the extended, well, I don't know. I've heard today from who I bought this one from that they also have a Merlot, Pinot, and rum finished bourbon coming out. So I'm not necessarily a huge fan of rum finished bourbons, but you know what? I'm willing to give it a try and pick it up if I'm here in town the day he releases those. Definitely going to. Currently, we're on baby watch. We're looking forward to our first granddaughter being born, so we're kind of on pins and needles here, Mrs. Captain and I, as we wait for the new baby. And as soon as that baby's born, man, we're jumping out 3 time zones to go see her. We're pretty excited. In fact, I went to Corona Cigar, where I got these from, and bought some cigars recently to take out to my son, and maybe we can share a father-son moment as we celebrate his daughter being born. So I'm excited about that. I'm curious if you've had either one of these, if you've seen any of those other expressions, and what your thoughts are on those. I'm definitely going to pick up the other ones when I see them. Do you just totally ignore finished whiskeys? And I think 1792, their limited series, is pretty great. I mean, the sweet wheat, the bottle and bond, the 12 years, certainly in the foolproof. Man, I love that expression. And I think 1792, like, they don't do tours, and they don't even have a store there at their distillery in Kentucky, which is pretty unusual. And they say they don't do that because they're focused on making great bourbon. And you know what? I think 1792 is making great bourbon. Guys, if you've enjoyed the video, like it. It's free. Subscribe to see more of my content. Again, I talk about whiskey and books, but now, my friends, you know what to do. I hope you're reading something good and drinking something great, and wear that damn hat. Cheers.